Yeah, so there's no big intro. We just start talking. So Kelsie Hoehne, good morning. How are you doing?
Doing great. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited about this one because I talk to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that they start at certain places in the agency. Maybe they were a salesperson. Maybe they came in as a son or daughter of an agency. Maybe they came from an insurance school. But it's always nice to talk to somebody who's done everything at an agency. So I'd love, I love where you started. So maybe for everyone listening, you could talk a little bit about kind of your journey to where you are now in the industry.
Sure, sure. Thanks for setting the bar so high. I started in the industry. I had a background in retail, in management and training, and then was looking to make a change into something more 9 to 5, if you will. And so found a role at an American family agency as a producer or an account executive there. Pretty quickly realized that pesky sales goal wasn't really really motivating to me. But what I did really enjoy is the connections, right? Making connections with people. And so learned about the independent side of the house and found an opportunity with a larger brokerage that gave me a role in servicing. And so started servicing a book of farm, which talk about baptism by fire.
Forgetting about it. That's so hard.
Yeah, but I learned so much. It was
Yeah, no
great.
addresses on property, barns or lean-tos that were built before anything, but are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's all hand sketched on a
hand
cocktail
sketch.
napkin from
Yeah,
15 years ago. No,
yeah.
it's, yeah. So that was fun and a good growth opportunity, and then from there, stepped into a personal lines team lead role, so was leading a team of account managers on the personal lines side, and started to see an opportunity to enhance our training and onboarding process for our new folks and continuing education for our current team, and so worked with other personal lines leadership to start to build out a training program, and super lucky that the agency I was working at said, "Hey, we like that. Can you do that at a bigger scale?" So ultimately at that brokerage, I was working in mergers and acquisitions and agency training. And then now I have been at ANSAI and Associates for a little over a year as director of operations for personal lines and small business. So, um, yeah, it's been a ride. So,
Well, I love that because all those components require a different understanding of the business. I mean, you talk about starting at a retail agency, a small or a direct writer type of approach. You talk about sales, you talk about service, you talk about ag, which God bless you, M&A, and all of that change, all of that process, all of that understanding. It adds to what people understand, and so it's not surprising that well, it's not surprising to me that people like you would ultimately end up in leadership like that, because I think when we think about change management, when we think about the opportunities coming for independent channel going forward, it's going to be people that understand the process of it. And that's what we're focused on is how do we take these really good people and these really important processes that mean so much to customers and turn them into a working business model for independent agents. And I just don't feel like we're doing as good a job of that as we could as an industry. And so I'm excited to get your take on things. So I want to talk a little bit about the automation advantage. So you've obviously seen sales, you've seen service, you've seen departmental, you've seen agency and brokerage type of growth, all sorts of things on that. When we talk about the automation that's coming to this industry, I want to talk about why it's so important, what challenges we face as an independent distribution model, and then what are the opportunities going forward. So if that makes sense to you, then let's talk about the importance of automation and efficiency and those type of things. Why is automation so important when we talk about our people?
yeah, I think so many reasons, but I think when we look at from an operations perspective, like what are our people doing in a day? When we look at the tasks on their desk, what percentage of the day are they able to spend engaging in meaningful high level work that preserves that relationship with our clients, with the carriers, right? And what percentage of the day are they bogged down in sort of
Process.
yes, tedious process. And is that really where we want our people focused? And so I think when we talk about AI, when we talk about automation, it's really like, how can we shift work off and up to allow our really talented folks to lean into the talents and skill sets that they have?
Yeah, and I mean, have you seen like I was looking at Indeed yesterday or no, last week in Ohio where I'm located, there's 22 or 2,300 open service roles on Indeed in the state of Ohio. I mean, that's crazy. And so I'm not sure from your perspective, finding people, if we find really good people, keeping them and helping them seems to be a priority. If truly
Yes.
finding and keeping those people is going to be the challenge going forward, no?
Oh my gosh, could talk about that all day, right? We have so many of these roles open, and we also have we're about to have such a talent vacuum, right? With the average age of somebody in the industry nearing that retirement, age. And then we're also going, oh my gosh, I don't understand why these young people don't want to work in the industry. It's so great. But when you're training them on some of these like legacy systems and I specifically remember a couple instances of onboarding folks and saying out loud, "Okay, I know this doesn't make any sense, but you're gonna need to click here and click here and click here." And then we go, "Yeah, I don't know why they don't wanna be in this space." So that talent vacuum that's about to happen, layered in with sort of we've been an industry of reactivity, right? We like kind of wait until tech is like a necessary evil and then are like, okay, fine, we'll use email, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's really looking at if we're gonna keep people, they wanna feel challenged, engaged, they wanna feel like the systems that they're working in make sense and support not only the client, but their day to day. And so that's why this conversation of automation, AI, tech is so imperative. It's not just an efficiency thing, it's a talent retention component as well.
Yeah. And I think there's definitely what do they call it, the silver tsunami, right? This aging group of people. But I also think, and maybe from your perspective, you talk a little bit, I think we've burned out our really good people. So we have these highly skilled, licensed customer engagement people that we've spent decades training, which is awesome. And yet we've burdened them with this insurance process.
Yes.
And and I know when we look at the data, at Be Atomic, it's like, hey, 65% of their day isn't spending, time doing the thing that makes them so special, so valuable, and makes them so important to customers. It's literally just processing stuff, and I don't think the industry has stopped to think of what we've dumped on these really good service people in terms of process. Do you agree with that, or is that an overstatement or understatement?
100%. I
Okay.
agree with that. Yes. Yeah. And so it's really looking at how do we shift off and up so that they can lean into those things that make not only them as a, individual unique, but also our agency, right? If they don't have time to lean into some of those value propositions associated with client relationships, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, all the billboards we put up don't mean anything if we
Right.
can't deliver on the promise. And, we were onboarding an agency not too long ago, and one of the service people started crying. And it was because of the burnout. That's the first time I'd heard anyone say that like I'm just burned out. And so it's not a noble profession. It's not like we don't love talking to people and helping people. But if we don't use automation to help our skilled people do the thing that matters, we're going to burn them out. And now it's not just the age outs, it's going to be the burnouts that go. And I don't think anybody wants to be in that position, right? I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, that's super, super valid point. And I think particularly also when we look at, the state of the market the last couple years, not only is there that, heavy process burden in general, but now with the market being what it was, we're requiring so much more interaction and problem solving of our service team, right? To deal with the flood of rewrite requests and renewal reviews in a way that we haven't quite seen in the past. So it's like, okay, not only are they, burnt out from this process laden work, but also then we're asking them to deliver more in the relationship category, but not always providing the resources necessary to free up time to be able to do that, right? So of course that leads to burnout.
I love that. You think about it, we sell, especially in small business, we sell the small business peak season endorsement. There's these times of the years where you get slammed and if something happened, but have we done that for our people? Is there a peak season endorsement? Because when we hit a hard market, all of a sudden the workload goes up 40%, and yet we have no additional help or support for you. It's just do more, be better, do it faster. And I guess I had never thought about it like that. So I think that well positions the both the importance of it and why we need to take that so seriously and the challenges. So if we think about automation then and why it's so important, one of the things that you've said before is to look at things that was whether they're a band-aid, are we just putting a band-aid on a mortal wound, or is there a bridge to something better? And I think, one of there's two things that have been really popular on the agency operations side over the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of work just for cost and margin go to VAs, right? So there's a whole industry of, hey, there's somebody else in the world who can do it cheaper. How do we get it there? And then we've got this technology stuff that's come in, InsurTech, that has said, hey, like, wait a minute, no human should be doing this, should all be automated and processed on that. So when you think about outsourcing service as an independent agent, whether it be to another group of people somewhere else in the world or to a technology partner, why is that such an important conversation for you guys right now? And how do you see that conversation affecting decision making in the independent channel side?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think there's so many ways to approach that, right? The leveraging of a VA or outsourcing. And so I think when we think about that, you want to think about what's the ultimate goal. So we've looked at it a couple different ways. One being, can we use some of that processing style work for entry level roles to be able to build our folks up into, a higher level in the servicing capacity. And so if one of your goals is talent retention, development, and you're looking for a space to do that and the cost benefit is there, like that is a path, right? That's a worthwhile endeavor. And then there's tasks where it's like, would anybody be learning anything from this? Is there a value in teaching folks how to do this task? And then if the answer is no, then of course that VA option, that outsourcing option becomes another path, right? And then there's everything in between. Can we use both strategies, right? Where we're
Right.
being selective about the tasks that we outsource. So I think it's ultimately determining like, okay, what's our goal and our biggest like pain point in relation to some of those tasks.
Yeah, do you think we've done a good job in helping our highly skilled, important people that talk to our customers with this transition? I generally think it starts at insurance conferences, maybe with a division leader or a business owner, and it's a great idea because it makes sense to them. But when it comes to implementation, when it comes to helping them understand the process or the importance of it, in general, I think we're doing a bad job. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we have the industry is so rife with the opportunity to address the change management component of these pieces, right? I'm reading a book right now called The Heart of Service by Nick Glimstall. And it's basically it's a blueprint for human-centric AI, right? And in
Nice.
customer service specifically. Really good. You should check it out. And and so one of the things he talks about is like this wave of AI or technology. It's failing when we get to the point of implementation, not because our people aren't smart, not because we necessarily picked the wrong product, but that we didn't prepare our people from a change management perspective to understand that we're not looking to take your job or replace you. The goal is to make your life better, to make your day-to-day less prone to burnout while enhancing the client experience. It's meant to be a tool, not a replacement, right? And so yeah, I think we have a ton of opportunity to frame this in a way that our people understand that this is for you, not to you, if that makes sense.
I love that, and I think, done right, and I think generally independent agents and brokers do it right. I think the savings and efficiency gains that we get through automation, intelligence, and APIs is gonna show up in higher compensation and pay to people. So if the thing that independents do well is manage relationship, then
Hmm.
people who actually retain business, renew business, and garner high customer satisfaction are going to be worth more. If we can kind of bifurcate process and get that taken away elsewhere, these really good, highly trained, skilled people should raise an income. And I think in general, independents do a nice job of that. I hope that's the outcome at least.
Yes, I would agree that that's the goal and definitely the desired outcome. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the separation of process from service is going to be a gift for these people. And so, to your point, if we can think about how to humanely and kindly educate and transition this so that process goes away and they can focus on service, then I think in that scenario, everybody wins. And I guess good news too is with everybody leaving, it should mean that the people there have a really good opportunity in front of them, right?
That's super true. I think another, component of this when we talk about change management and you mentioned like humanely and kindly, right? I think the best thing that we can do from a change management perspective is to involve our folks in the process and listen to our people, right? There's things that we may not as leaders in the agency may not even be aware are a pain point for our team because the process has been around for so long and nobody's been a squeaky wheel about it until we really dive in. And so
Yeah.
I think involving our teams in conversations around like, okay, what is jacking up your day? Like what does take the bulk of your time? And inviting them to that process, inviting them to be a part of the solution from a buy-in, from a change management perspective, and to ensure that we're not doing the Band-Aid thing, right? Like so often we can get in a room of leaders and this is what we think. This is what we think the issue is. Look at the numbers, right? And then you talk to the front lines and they're like, that is not the problem. This
Yeah.
is the problem, right? And so I think that's just a critical component in this.
And we see that on the product side as we introduce automations to our clients, the user feedback is where the product gets so much better. So there's a
Yes.
lot of data to support a version one. You get it out there, get it in front of your really engaged users and just shut up and listen. And they will
Yes.
tell you what needs to happen. And I think the two ears and one mouth ratio is something that we oftentimes forget in that situation. So I agree with that. Let's talk about the opportunity then. So if it's an important matter, um, it's something we've got to help people get through. It should create opportunity. And I think one of the things that I think about is in terms of what makes independence special, and ANSAI probably the same, is relationship. Can you talk about if this is done right, what impact that has at ANSAI?
Yeah, 100%. So I think specifically about our renewal process because that's just an opportunity in the life cycle of a client or in the client's journey that's rife with opportunity to really act in that consultative manner and really demonstrate our value as independent agents and also as folks who are interested in that relationship component, right? And so when we look at our renewal process and our renewal reviews, there's so much pre-work to be done, right? And that's not necessarily where the good stuff happens. The good stuff happens when we're having the conversation with the client, when we're answering their questions, when we're really engaged in that consultative process. And so we've been reimagining how can if we all recognize this as a critical component of the client's journey, how can we ensure that we're giving the best experience in that moment, right? And so we looked at what are the tasks, what are the process that's a part of this point in the client journey that doesn't require a skilled a skilled set of eyes, right? Like where can we layer in technology, automation, AI to free up the time to be spent with that conversation with the client? And so one of the things that we're doing currently is leveraging AI for policy checking.
Okay, yeah.
And because that eliminates the not eliminates, but significantly reduces the time spent going line by line, right? And yeah, doing all the compare contrast business. And from a change management perspective, it's been interesting because when we first started doing that, and even now, there are folks that are like, well, I still have to look at it. It's not, set it and forget it. And so helping people understand, like, okay, but if 70% of the time it's 70% correct and you're just tightening it up, that's still a value add. There's still
Huge.
efficiency there to free you up for that meaningful conversation. So, yeah, that's just one example of where we're layering in some of those solutions to put time back on the desk of our team.
It's one of the reasons we started hitting record on this because, when you look at the industry conversation, it's always around sales and marketing and growth, growth, growth. And there's very little, if any, conversation or consideration of the importance of operations. And renewal is the thing. I mean, think about it. 90 to 95% of agency revenue comes from renewing the policy.
Right.
It's only that 5 to 10% of new business on there. And so the thing that contributes the most the revenue, the thing that generates the most expense on an operation side, and the thing that really touches the customer is the thing our industry is not talking about. And so I love that ANSAI and Associates and you have said, hey, listen, this is the moment where we matter. This is the promise, right? Because I think we tell customers, "Oh, we're independent, so we have options." And then we don't flex at renewal time that we've examined those things or we've
Yes.
considered that. So I think that's tremendous. And the idea that you're taking automation or AI to relieve the process of the teammates so that they can focus on the service, which is presenting the renewal, advising on it. I think that's a great example.
Yeah. It's been it's definitely been a change maker, I would say, in our process. Mhm.
So that's how relationship can be improved from the coworker side. If we can get these people leveraging an automation, a key automation that allows them to be better, then that's going to be better for the agency. Customer feels that too. How do you, when you imagine this process being better, what's the customer impact? How does the relationship change if you leverage these automations at renewal time for the customer? What are they feeling, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think that is it when we talk about leveraging technology is like, yes, it does have to provide a lift on the desk of my teams, but if it doesn't translate to a positive or enhanced client experience, then it doesn't count, right? It's a zero sum game. It has to be both. And so I think for the client, what they're able to see is that because we're not bogged down with that process component, we can really dig into, spend time looking at either other options or at least presenting for them like here's our recommendations, right? And it's giving a more holistic approach instead of a reactive one too. I think what we were finding before implementing this renewal process is that our folks were like missing the renewal activities because they're so bogged down with process in other places too, right? And so as an operations leadership team identifying like we can't mess that up, right? That is a critical component. And so how do we make sure that this is a task that's I don't want to say simple enough, but is efficient enough that it's not getting missed because they have so much on their desk, right? So I think we're executing on them more consistently. I think it's a more holistic approach because we've layered in this option.
Yeah, and I even think I agree with that 100%. And I think too, I don't think it's long if it's not already happening that independent agents start telling customers that they're leveraging AI to do better,
Sure.
to do more for them and to do it. And I think I know that may scare my mom, but my
Right.
kids would expect to hear that. And so
Right.
depending on where we are as an agency or who we value most, I have to think that these kind of things become public facing too, where we, just as independents do, we embrace it and we say, hey, we use this for good and you benefit from it. Our relationship gets stronger because we're spending more time talking and doing the things that matter.
Absolutely. I think another place that we've, implemented AI in a way that's enhancing efficiency, but also, again, the client experience is um, our our AI generated notes from our phone calls with our service staff.
Love that.
Oh my
Say more about
gosh.
yeah, say
Yes. It's another place where I think our team was very skeptical about. leveraging that as a tool. But again, when I think about process and I think about what takes up, an account manager's time in a day, think of how much time you're spending, documenting, which again, necessary evil. We got to do it. It's got to be done well. Leveraging those notes. And again, it's AI, right? So coaching our folks around like, you got to check it, right? It's not the word of the Lord. But again, if it's 70% right, 70% of the time, and you're not having to, type out every single thing that was said, and the E&O mitigation component of I'm not trying to regenerate that conversation that we had, right? It's real time. That it's been so helpful saving folks time, specifically those that maybe were writing in a notebook still, right? So from like a
Yeah.
change management perspective, thinking about, yeah, we've made great strides there.
I think voice over IP is the new black when it comes to independent insurance. I think, one of the most important technologies for kicking off workflows, automations for documentation is going to be that natural language processing phone call or email that is automatically updating. I think, we do such a good job of teaching people about the E&O boogeyman
Yeah.
that there's this constant fear of it. And so much time is wasted on this very rare, not often used tool of scare tactic of like, we're going to get sued. So if we can leverage this stuff and get it in the right place, one, we protect ourselves, but two, and I know we're doing it to be atomic, we can leverage that into endorsements and changes. So you can take natural language conversation and send it right through to the carrier. And so all of this is coming so that hopefully we can tell people, take time on the phone call, ask the questions, talk about coverage, get to know them, knowing the systems are documented and knowing that it's going to take care of the endorsement or the change request for you. I mean, that's where we have to get to.
It absolutely is. Yeah, it absolutely is. There's so much opportunity in that space for streamlining and efficiency.
So we talked about the coworker, we talked about the relationship, the customer. What about the carrier? How does this improve our relationships with our carriers?
I think there's a couple different components there. When I think about things like the AI notes, specifically, I think it helps us have more intelligent conversations with our carriers, right? We have more accurate information. I think sometimes there can be that like, oh well, did the clients say this or did they say that, right? And so bringing some real-time accuracy to the conversations and being able to translate that directly to the carrier in a more concise way. I think there's a lot of spaces where our relationships can be improved with carriers through enhanced use of automation and tech.
Yeah, and I think, talking to carriers, because we work with them too, it's, if we've got, 50 people on our side doing this, well, guess what? When you send an email request or an endorsement change to CL processing at
Right.
carrier.com, they've
Right.
got 50 people on their side opening up the emails and putting it into systems. And so I have to think that this automation, I know we're doing it and pushing for it, is to say, listen, both organizations can have less people processing and more people focused on relationships so that we can be better or more unique to our customers. And I think that's going to be, with all of the intelligence that's coming, I think relationship is going to be the new thing. And that's what independent model has been based on for hundreds of years. So it's like, this is all coming our way. If as agents and brokers and carriers, we do this together, we should be the rock stars here going forward, in my opinion.
100%, like, relationship is the currency, right? And so anything that allows us to lean into that in a bigger way is beneficial for carrier and independent agency, ultimately the client as well.
I'm in. I'm baptized at the river. I believe what Chris saying, and I think this is we've got to make this conversation okay to have with our customers, with our coworkers, and our carriers, because this is how that currency really presents our value. So I appreciate the time that you've given us to kind of just frame this and to talk about it in a way that hopefully starts the conversations at agents and carriers and brokerages across the country. So I appreciate that. So, um, one last question that I always ask people is, in 3 years, so 36 months, so 29, my teams are not going to be doing this, but they're definitely going to be doing that. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's so many things that I don't think our team will be doing it in that amount of time. I think things like transactional things like processing payments, generating proofs of insurance, I think there'll be enhanced solutions for that.
Okay.
I also think to your point of this like back and forth with the carrier, right? And sort of all of the intermediary components that are present there and sort of roadblocks between carrier communication into our agency management system, right? I think that will be eliminated because it'll have to be, right? Like that can't, like that has to, I think there's so
I wake up
many,
every day trying to fix.
yes,
I try every day.
I think there's so many way smarter than me people that have recognized that as a challenge for a long time and are actively working on ways to eliminate that need for the sort of go between the email to CL processing. Um, so I'm excited to see how that evolves.
Okay,
To a place.
so that goes away. We're not going to be doing that. What are your people going to be doing?
Yeah. So what my people will be doing then is I don't want to sound like a broken record, but leaning into that relationship development piece and really acting as consultants, being able to deep dive into recommended enhancements to the policy, being better able to stay ahead of industry trends, being better able to, understand what this carrier strategy is and their new endorsements and things like that. I think we'll be better able to be connected to what's happening in the industry, therefore be better experts and consultants for our clients because we're not weighed down in trying to get this payment processed.
I love it. You didn't know it, but I think you just named the title of this podcast. Relationship is the new currencies. I think that's got to be the banner on that one is just like Kelsie Hoehne from ANSAI and Associates says, relationship is the new currency. I
The
love it.
bumper sticker.
I love it. I love it. That's a good t-shirt. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for leading an industry conversation. And we certainly appreciate it here at Be Atomic. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for the time. It's been fun. I appreciate it.